Hey everybody, it's Kelly from Ready Set Drone here. I did a video a little while back, 7 mistakes that rookies make when flying drones. I wanted to follow up with that and take it up even one higher level. And by that I mean, if you're just getting into flying drones, I have some advice. I often get asked, what should I start with? How should I learn to fly, etc. So I've compiled 7 tips for drone beginners that I think will be very useful if you're just getting started. So my number 1 tip is don't start with this. Don't start with a Phantom or a Solo or a Unique or any of the higher end, an Inspire. They're a ton of fun to fly, and actually in some ways they're a little bit easier to fly because of the GPS and stuff than these guys are. But they're expensive, they're big, they're more dangerous, and quite honestly, you're going to have a lot more fun flying it if you're confident doing it. So my recommendation, my very favorite beginner drone is the Syma X5C or X5C1. I also have this X600, which is a hexcopter. Both of these are around 50 bucks on Amazon, and they're really great place to start. They're easy to fix. I've fixed the motors on these before. They're pretty easy to replace. They're safe because honestly, even if you hit somebody at high speed, I've chopped my finger with this before, it doesn't really hurt. There's not a lot of mass here going on compared to this, and this doesn't even have a battery in it right now. And then it's just lower risk to your wallet. If you crash one of these things or put it in a lake or lose it on a roof or the wind takes it away or whatever, you're not going to be as upset if you spent 50 bucks as if you spent, $1,000 or $2,000. So start with an inexpensive small drone. Number 2 is learn to fly without headless mode. Now, a lot of these newer toy drones have headless mode, and what headless mode does is it means that no matter which way the drone is oriented, it always knows where you are, and if you push the stick forward, it flies forward. If you push the stick left, it flies left. You should learn to fly without headless mode so that when you are facing towards you, everything's reversed and you know how to handle that. And you can very easily do that on one of these little drones. You can learn to do figure eights, pirouettes, all kinds of cool tricks. And it's not that hard once you kind of grasp it. One trick that I've learned is it's often good, there's LEDs on the bottom that indicate the front and the rear of the craft, but also changing the prop colors on the front helps you really tell in the air that this is the front of the craft and this is the rear. So as I'm flying and I push the stick left, I know no matter which way this thing is facing, these red props are going to rotate to the left. So learn how to fly without headless mode. Headless mode is fine for your first few flights, but once you get a little bit better and more comfortable, take it out of headless mode and learn how to fly that way. Number 3 tip for beginners is learn and know the rules. Now, the FAA has, a lot of people complain that the FAA has dragged their feet in terms of actually putting together rules for us. They've become a lot more apparent here in 2016 and beyond. The big ones are don't fly over 400 feet, don't fly within 5 miles of an airport, register your drone if you do have one that weighs a certain amount. I think it's just over half a pound. You have to actually have a registration number. I have one inside of that guy. You don't have to have it for these, another good reason to start with the smaller ones. And stay away from airports and keep the thing line of sight. Those rules are pretty basic. You can go to FAA.gov and see all the rules, but really using common sense and just knowing the basic rules will really help out as you're flying along, help you stay out of trouble and also help you avoid any issues. My number 4 tip is to learn how to fly line of sight before you try FPV. Now, if you know what that means, great. If you don't, I'll tell you briefly. Line of sight means you can actually see the craft, and technically you're supposed to always fly line of sight to where you can see it with your naked eyes and not through a camera. A lot of these small drones are now coming with FPV capabilities. They're not that great. Obviously, the DJI stuff and the Solo stuff is a lot better with LightBridge and some of the technology they're using. They get some pretty good stuff, and some of the racers are really good with the 600 milliwatt transmitters that they use. The toy drones aren't going to have great FPV anyway, and I would just start with something really simple. Learn how to fly it by looking at it and orienting it, because that's going to give you the skills you need to move up to FPV later. The next thing I'll say is don't try to start flying in your backyard or a small confined space downtown first. That's just going to cause trouble. You're going to run into a building, run into a tree or something like that. Find a big open field. Learn how to fly in a big open field where there's not a lot of people around. And try to learn on a day when there's not a lot of wind, because the wind will definitely fight you if you're flying something without GPS. But it's really worth it to go out to a big open field and start that way. And then once you're good at that, you can start to fly in tighter, more confined spaces indoors, etc. If you are going to fly indoors, I definitely recommend putting the prop guards on these things so you don't damage your television or your dog or anything like that. But it's a great idea to start in a big open space before you graduate to something smaller. The number 6 tip I have for beginners is battery management. Now, all of these and almost every single quad that I have takes a different type of battery, which is unfortunate. There are some that cross over, which I love it when that happens because I can have one set of batteries. But the big challenge with these is knowing which have been charged, which are discharged, how old the battery is, etc. So just learn, because there's nothing more of a bummer than going out with your quad and with your friends and wanting to fly and finding out your batteries only have 20% life and you get to fly for 30 seconds and that's it. So buy spare batteries. And then one thing that I like to do when I've charged them is put a rubber band around it when it's been charged. I basically just have a bunch of little rubber bands. If it's been charged, I put the rubber band around it. I know that it's got a full charge, and I fly it. And then I take the rubber band off when I put it in the copter. So then if it doesn't have a rubber band, I know it's been used and hasn't been recharged. So battery management, and when you get up into these bigger ones, they have more intelligent batteries with indicators on them and such. But it's just as important to make sure that you're keeping those topped off, you're not flying them down too far, because you can damage the batteries. But when you're starting with the small quads, the battery trick with the rubber band works really well. Number 7 tip I have is do your research. I mean, I make these videos all the time trying to help people out and understand how they can fly better, what they should buy, etc. There's tons of research you can do online. There's lots of great videos, lots of great websites, reviews. Drone Review is a great example. They review a ton of different types of drones that you can buy, give it a scale of 1 to 10. I actually write for them. But, do your research. Join the community. Don't be afraid to ask questions. I respond to a lot of the questions I get on Ready, Set, Drone and try to help people out. So don't be afraid to ask a question, leave a comment. And then finally, be a good ambassador for drone flyers. The news is always ready to jump on an accident or a near miss or anything like that. Ultimately, if you're going to take up this sport, I would challenge you to try and be the guy that people say, hey, that was really cool what this person did with this drone, and they did it safely and they did it responsibly, not that, boy, this guy almost killed me by running into me and not paying attention. So just follow the rules and be safe. Have fun. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it's helpful for the beginners out there. Please leave your comments, and if you like this video, please subscribe. I promise there will be more videos that will be focused on beginners and expert drone flying. Thanks a lot.